like all you're seeing is my forehead. Well, it's what it is. And y'all are welcome to join the Zoom if you want to be able to see the screen right in front of you, but be very careful joining the Zoom. Make sure your audio input and your audio output is off. Otherwise, we're going to hear some great feedback. I know in the back, it gets kind of far away from the screen, so sometimes people like to have it right in front of them. Wish I could fix this. A little bit better. Got a few more minutes. Not going to rush everybody. And make sure you like where you're sitting, because you're going to be sitting there for a really long time. So if you don't like where you're sitting, you might want to find a new spot. You're going to be sitting there for the whole semester. So make sure you like it. I'm going to be all by myself in the front the whole semester. It's going to be so sad. Everybody's got 4 more minutes. So y'all do anything fun over the summer? Yeah, me neither. Me neither. We had a good staycation. We couldn't even put the slip and slide up. I have a 9-year-old. So we have this massive blow up slip and slide for the backyard, right? Because what else are you going to do in the summer in Louisiana? It's too wet. My backyard was already a mud pit. So we didn't even get to slip and slide like normal. It's very sad. Our son was very disappointed. But we did get a dog. So I think that made up for it. Make sure you like your seat for those who just came in, because you're going to be sitting there all semester. Very sad. But most of y'all don't move anyway. You find that one spot in the very beginning, that's where y'all always sit. We're creatures of habit, right? So you can go ahead and try to sign in with iClicker. Your name should come up as present on this list here, and I'll have this going all class long. So even at the end, if you want me to say, hey, Dr. B, would you scroll down and see if I'm on the list? I can do that, but you should be here on the list and present if you did it right. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You have to speak up.
There's no Wi-Fi.
You can do it on your phone. And try, there are two Wi-Fis in this building. There's like it's NSU and then NSU 4 or something like that. So try one or the other. You can use that as long, you can use a handheld iClicker if you have registered it. And you have to go to iClicker.com and create an account and associate that remote with your account.
Oh, yeah, that's how I registered.
And then you have to register it with my class on the Moodle site. So at the very top of Moodle, there's something that says iClicker. So if I can get out of this. Up here, course blocks, and then iClicker, student registration. Should do it there too. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Should be about that time. So I have good news and bad news for you. I don't know how you like to take it, but so I told you I have a little boy, right? He's 9. So he's in the 4th grade, and right now he is very into 4th grade jokes, which means so am I. So every day I like to start class with a joke. So I'm warning you on the front end that the quality of the jokes is 3rd, 4th grade level. So what kind of shoes do spies wear? Sneakers. And that's going to be the quality for the rest of the semester. But at least you'll get a good laugh at my expense, right? Last year he got to the point where he was telling the joke to the whole class, his whole 4th grade class. Every day he was telling a joke. So like the pressure was high to get good jokes. So we'll have to see how this year goes. I don't know what they're going to do yet. But we at least start off with a smile every day. So you are in Chem 109 4T, right? Not 5T, you are in 4T, even though there is only one Moodle site for both. You are in 4T. So make sure you make that note somewhere that you know that you are in 4T, okay? So you should be working on your iClicker, getting enrolled in iClicker. I posted you guys on Moodle a video on how to do it with some instructions and the link to the help center and all that kind of stuff. So if you have issues with iClicker, ask their help because there's not much that I can do, right? If you follow the instructions and it doesn't work, I can't fix it. You can email me and tell me what's going on, but I can't fix it. It'll have to be like the iClicker people who help. If today you are unable to get iClicker to work, you can't find your name, and I'll show you the list. So before the end of class, everybody should have your name, and it should be green for present, right? If you're here. And if you can't do that, come before the end of class and sign here so you get credit for being here, okay? So just before the end of class. All right. So I am running a Zoom right now. The Zoom is for people who are in quarantine, people who are sick with COVID, or people who have student access accommodations. If you are on the Zoom and you are remote, that means I have an excuse for you. So one from University Health Center, from the Student Access Center, somewhere like that. So make sure that you send that to me if you're going to be on the Zoom. So, all right. So even if you are in the class and you'd like to join the Zoom, you're more than welcome to do that. You like to have it on your computer screen right in front of you. Instead of squinting to see the small writing on the board, I'll try not to write small, but it happens. Just make sure your microphone is muted and your audio output is muted. Otherwise, we will have an enormous amount of feedback. You can also use the chat function. I try to leave it up. And y'all, if I miss somebody, put a question in the chat. Would y'all please tell me? You know, just say, hey, Dr. B, you missed that. So I thought I would give you a little bit of an introduction as to who I am. I am Dr. Sarah Bajra. I go by Dr. B. As long as there's a doctor in front of it or a professor in front of it, that's fine with me. I have a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology from UL Lafayette with a minor in chemistry. And I couldn't decide what I loved better, biology or chemistry. So I kind of just did both. So I'm technically a biochemist because I have a PhD in molecular and cellular biology from a biochemistry lab at the University of Iowa, which, FYI, in case y'all don't know, Iowa is really cold. I am from here, I'm from Houma, and I was not prepared for that. I was not prepared. 7 years in Iowa was very cold. I was very happy to come back. After I came back, I decided teaching was really, really important to me. And so I went back and got a Master's of Art in Teaching and Secondary Science Education. So, so I didn't do the traditional route, but I got all the letters behind my name eventually, right? Okay, so there are a few things that I wanted to tell you. I can't hide the joke here. And the first thing I want to tell you is that I have your back. You know, if something's happening, something's gone wrong, you need help, you need whatever it is, I've got your back. I'm going to help you. Please email me. Please come and see me. Please ask for help. But that also means that you need to do your part. This is not an easy class. It's not. It's a challenge. But it's a challenge that I think that you can do. But you have to put in the effort. You have to put in the work, right? I sent you guys a video that was how to succeed, right? Step by step. What do you do? How do you do well in this class? Did you watch it? I saw a lot of people watched it. You should watch it if you haven't watched it. It's really helpful. There are lots of resources out there to help you. I'm here. The tutoring center is amazing. If you have not had a chemistry in the past, or it's been a really long time, or you really struggled in high school chemistry, I would say start setting up a twice a week session with the tutoring center now. Don't get behind, get ahead of it, okay? Because you don't want to get trapped in that, wait, that was in chapter 1 and I didn't get it and we're already in chapter 6, right? That's going to be a problem. So if you know you're struggling, start from the beginning with help, okay? But I try to be really quick on emails. I'll show you all the different ways to get into contact with me in just a second, but I try to be really as quick as possible, okay? So if you need something, contact me. So this is my son up there on the screen, who's very much into Legos and jokes. And then this is our recent addition to the family there at the bottom. Her name is Rosie, and that is Rosie at 4 months. 40 pounds, 4 months. She's a Great Dane. She's come to campus with me a few times. So if you see a really big dog, it's probably mine. But she's really sweet and she's really a lot of fun. She loves everyone, everyone. And so normally, I'm not going to do it today. I'm not going to do it today. If you join the class session, you will be marked as present today. But starting on Thursday, this is how we're going to start every class. I'll have this up on the screen. It's going to be iClicker attendance. I am either present in the classroom or I'm remote at home. Okay. You don't, not today, but every day after this, this is what it's going to look like. And then your iClicker points. Did y'all read your syllabus? You know that you get a grade for iClicker questions. This is one of the iClicker questions. Can you get this one wrong? Nope. So please make sure you answer them all. This is a good little freebie there. Okay, so before we really do chemistry and go through all kinds of syllabus and all that kind of stuff, I want to do something a little bit fun with you guys. So you've seen this before, right? Oh, it's trapped down there. Let's see if I can turn it this way a little bit. Okay, so you've seen the scientific method before, right? Like that's something that we've at least seen once or twice. So I have this tank of water and I have some soda here, right? So if I take this can of Coke, what do you think is going to happen if I put it in the water? It's kind of two options, right? What are my two options? Sink or float. Sink or float. So raise your hand for sink. Okay, raise your hand for float. All right, so what did we just do? We had a question, we made a hypothesis. Now what do we need to do? We need to experiment, okay? Oh, let's see. Make sure we don't have a air bubble at the bottom. What are we doing? Really, it should be sinking there. It really should be sinking. Let's see. See, what do we think is going to happen with this one? See, they have that little air pocket at the bottom. So if you take out the air pocket at the bottom, it should sink unless someone has done something to the can. So what do we think about this one? Think it's going to float? So make sure we don't get that air pocket at the bottom. Oh, look what happened. Right? It's coming back up. That's crazy. All right, so theoretically, really what should happen is these two. So why does something sink or float? What is it? It has to do with the density of whatever the object is, right? Okay, so what if I take a Diet Coke? What do we think? Should we get that air pocket out of the bottom? What did that one do? That one floats. This is like so terrible. This is really messing with me. Stay down. All right. So anybody want to bet what's going to happen with this one? It's gonna float. Make sure we don't have that air pocket. Not cheating, right? Okay, it's floating. So you're making conclusions based on your previous experience, right? You're looking at data that you've collected and you're making predictions so that you can look at future events and kind of figure out what's going to happen, right? Anybody want a Coke? Okay, so what did this can do before? It sunk. What's it going to do now if I drop it? You think? Now it floats. All right. So we've done some research questions. We've had some hypotheses. We did some experiments. We got some results. What conclusions can we come to with this data?
Did I put something into the Coke? No, I didn't change what was inside the can, right? I couldn't, it was a sealed can. But it did change. It did go from sinking to floating. So that's one piece of information, right? Okay, so that's something. What else about diet versus regular? What's supposed to happen?
Is less dense.
Diet is less dense. Okay, so now we have two of these like observations. I'm going to try to kind of explain why, right? This is kind of our discussion. So why does a regular Coke stay down? Why does a regular Coke sink and a Diet Coke float? You just told me why things sink and float. Why do they sink and float? Their density. So their density must be different, right? Why would the density of a Diet Coke be different than the density of a regular Coke? What's different about a Diet Coke and a regular Coke? One has sugar, one has some kind of artificial sweetener, right? Aspartame or whatever it is. Is that what this one is? I forget. Yeah, aspartame. Okay. Do you know how many grams of sugar is in a regular Coke? 39 grams. That's a lot. 39 grams of sugar. Now, what's really cool is that aspartame tastes sweet. But not only does it taste sweet, it tastes sweeter than regular sugar. So how much aspartame do you think they need to add to a Diet Coke to make it taste like it has 39 grams of sugar in it? Do you think we're going to add 39 grams of aspartame? No, we're only going to add a fraction of that. So how would that change our density? Well, sugar is really heavy, right? So now we're not putting as much other stuff into our Diet Coke, so that changes its density, right? Okay. Now we still got a problem. What's our problem? Did I change the number of grams of sugar in my floating regular Coke? I'm not going to talk about that one yet. No, we didn't. We didn't. So why is this one now floating? Can you see it's all deformed at the top? Anybody want to open this Coke for me? No, everybody's saying no. Make sure your masks are up over your faces, please. So if nobody wants to open this Coke, why not? What's going to happen? It's going to explode, right? I'm not opening it. It's going to explode. So why is it going to explode? There's a vast amount of pressure going on in this can right now. So what causes the pressure? Carbonation, right? What is carbonation? It's not just air. It's a particular kind of gas that has carbon in it. CO2, carbon dioxide. It is CO2. So normally in your Coke, right, all of the carbon dioxide is dissolved inside of the can of Coke, right? That's why when you crack it open and you take that first taste, it's fizzy, right? Because the carbon dioxide is dissolved, and that dissolved carbon dioxide is like bubbly on your tongue, right? Okay, when I dropped the can, guess what happened to the carbon dioxide? Is it still dissolved inside of the Coke, inside of the water of the Coke? No, now it's in its gaseous form, right? And it expanded the volume of our can. Now that our volume is expanded, did that change our density? Yes, because density is, right, know the formula for density? Mass over volume. So in the dropping the Coke can, we changed the volume, and going from regular Coke to Diet Coke, we changed the mass, which then changed the density, right? So whether you change volume or you change mass, you're going to have an effect on density. Cool, right? Okay, so that's how the scientific method works. So what I want you to be able to do from this class is I want you to be able to take what you've learned here and apply it to what you're going to be doing in the future, right? I know a lot of people are like, oh, chemistry, I'm never going to use that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And I'm going to show you periodically, all throughout the semester, I'm going to show you how you're going to use chemistry and allied health. Okay. So anytime we do this, you just have to remember that this is really a cyclic process, right? We don't just learn one thing and move on. We keep learning. And that's kind of what's going on with all of the vaccine research that's going on right now, right? We learn something and then things change. A Delta variant comes out. We learn some more. We change what we know, right? So I don't want you to think because the research has changed about coronavirus and things like that, that, oh, the science isn't right. They didn't do the science right. Yes, they did. That was the data they collected. And now we have a new situation. So the best thing that we can do to continue to stay in this classroom, to stay together, which I would much prefer to be in the classroom with all of y'all than on Zoom with all of y'all. Trust me, it's not fun. Y'all know that, right? Is to get vaccinated and to wear our masks and to wear them properly to where they're covering nose and mouth all the time. Okay? I know it sucks. It sucks. I get it. But I want to stay here and I know you want to stay here. So let's do the best that we can together to make that happen. Okay. All right. So the rest of today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Moodle site because it should be super helpful to you if you know how to navigate it and you know what's there. And we'll talk a little bit about the syllabus. I'm not going to read the syllabus to you. I know you know how to do that. I'm just going to point out some really important stuff. Then we're going to work on chapter 1 in-class problems, because if you watch the video, you know that this is a flipped class, right? That means you watch the lectures at home, you come here and we work on problems together. I'm telling you, that's where most of y'all struggle, right? You could sit and listen to me talk, but when you get to a problem, you're like, oh my God, what do I even do to start, right? A lot of these are huge word problems. What do I do? Well, I'm going to be here to model that and to help you to do that. Okay, so I'm hoping that that makes you very successful. And so make sure to check your calendar on Moodle so you know what to watch for every class period. And then at the end is always to have a great day, because we should all have great days. Okay, so here we go. Moodle Site. The first thing on the Moodle site is how to get in touch with me. My office is right here in this building, down the hall a little ways. This is my phone number, or this is my email. But this is going to be really easy for you. This is my calendar. You actually have access to my calendar. Isn't that kind of cool? So if you click on this link, it's going to take you to my calendar. And all the days that have a little blue circle on them, I have available appointments. So you can click on whatever day works for you, and you can find an appointment that you want. You click the appointment, you click confirm, you put in your information, and you tell me what you need help with. That way we can both make the best of our time, right? And then it automatically makes a Zoom appointment for you. If you would prefer to meet in person, I will find an empty classroom for us to meet in, but my office is small. So I am only doing Zoom appointments this semester, but I'm happy to find an empty classroom where we can work together. And the cool thing is, let's say you're studying with a group of people, like you have 3 or 4 people who are working together, right, to do homework, and y'all all have a problem with the homework and want help with it. You can add guests. And so you can add additional people to be on the Zoom or additional people to meet in the classroom, right? And so we can do multiple people at one time. Doesn't matter to me. Okay, so use this. It's really, really helpful. All right, I need to move this down just until I can do this. All right, so that's that. All right, so if you're looking at it, this is all of our information for the whole semester. You have course information, that is all the get started things. And then I have all of our information broken down into units. And basically the units are material for exams. All right. So at the very beginning, our announcements, please tell me that you have been getting notifications that I posted announcements today.
Did you get an email? If you shake your head no, this is what you do. Your preferences are not set correctly. So you click on the person, see my picture, and you do preferences, and you go to notification preferences. And you'll get an email. Here's forum. You want to subscribe to forums. You want email on for those. And then you'll get an email when I post in the announcement forum, which is really what you want. Okay. All right. So let me go back. All right. So I'll post announcements, but here's the other really nice thing. If you have a question about something we're doing in class, hey, I'm doing the homework and I really struggled with number 8, whatever it is, post it right here. If you have the question, I bet somebody else does too. And then I can answer it and they can see the answer as well, right? Or one of your classmates can answer it. You never know. Classmates are pretty smart. So use this forum, not for personal questions. Like if you have a personal question, email me, call me, whatever it is, make an appointment. But general course questions, you can use that forum. This is the welcome letter I emailed out and the How to Succeed video. If you lose it in your email, it's okay. It's right here. Here's our syllabus, which I'm going to look at in just a second. Here's our course calendar. This course calendar you should come back to often. I update it daily. So if we have a hurricane, if, I don't know, something changes, I'm going to update this. So this has every single one of the lectures you should watch and what homeworks you have due. So what's the next homework you have due? Mini homework A, which is due at midnight on Friday. Then you have chapter 1, and then you have mini homework B on Wednesday. So we'll go in and look at mini homework A in just a minute. But that's where you go to find all your due dates. All right. If you're trying to get to your textbook, you go to course materials. Let's hope it loads. If you want to read your ebook, this is where you go. If you want to get to your homework, because all of your homework is using that online, and they go back and forth between naming it 2 different things. Sometimes it's called My Lab and Mastery. Sometimes it's called Mastering Chemistry. It's the same thing. Drives me crazy those name 2 different things in different places, but that's where you go, launch courseware. I wish it was named better, but it's not. So you need to make sure that you can get on that because you have a homework there due on what day? Not Friday. For mini homework, the mini homework is not, oh, the mini homework is. Mini homework A is, yep, on Friday. All right. And then you have another one, homework 1, which is due on the Monday. Okay. If you need help with your iClicker, that's the iClicker information. If you want to know how well do I need to do on exam 3 to make the B in the class that I want to make, you download this final grade calculator and you're going to get that answer, right? It's an Excel spreadsheet. So you have to download it so that you can enter your information, right? Because it's going to be personal for every person who downloads it. If you happen to be on quarantine, if you happen to get COVID, knock on wood, you don't, there's a new reporting form this semester. I don't know if y'all know about that, but this is the new reporting form. I thought I'd just put it into Moodle. That way it was an easy access for you guys. So you have to fill this out if you are on quarantine, if you test positive or have close contact with somebody who tests positive, so on and so on. This is our Zoom, your 4T. So if you want to join that now, you can see my screen. If you are on quarantine or out, that's the Zoom link you'll use. Okay. Remember how I said, I hope you like where you're sitting. You're going to be sitting there for the rest of the semester. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to Moodle right now. And I want you to click on this link. Even if you're on your phone, you can do this on your phone. So you click 4T seating chart and it brings up an empty seating chart of this room. What you do is you look and you find, and I'm going to walk around and I'm going to tell you what row is what, but you're going to be typing in your name in the yellow box that I provided. Okay, so I'm going to walk around and I'm going to give you kind of a reminder of what label your row is, right? So this is row A, right? This is row B, C, D,
E, F, G. If you have an empty seat in front of you, you should have empty yellow glasses, right? Now, if I come all the way back here, this is the walkway, right? So everybody in this first row is 9. So that's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Ready to get on that? Okay. Let's put in your names on the spreadsheet. So there are 2 reasons why we're doing this semester. So the 2 reasons we're doing this semester is 1 for contact tracing. So if someone ends up testing positive, right, you kind of want to know if the person sitting next to you tested positive. So that's part of it. And the other part of it is I'm going to start to try to learn your names. So if you're sitting in the same places, I can do that. So please, please, please put in all of your names. Okay. All right, so I'll leave that up and y'all can continue to do that, continue to work on it as you need. Okay. So I want to go over a few quick things in the syllabus. I'm not going to take long on it. But the same thing, all of my contact info is up here, right? You know the textbook. Anybody have big issues with the textbook? It should have been available to you if you did the kernel book bundle starting yesterday morning.
I couldn't like get into that's the one on the website, right?
Yeah, that's one where you go to the course materials. You go here. Have you tried going there? Okay. If it doesn't, let me know. All right, you do need a calculator. You can get, you know, the scientific calculators are like $10 at Walmart. TI. Oh, I should have brought mine. I have one in my office. I should have brought it. But it's a scientific calculator. So it can do log. That's you're looking for to make sure that it can do log. Or you can use your TI 80, whatever you have. You just cannot use your phone or your iWatch, or what do you call it? Apple Watch or whatever it is, right? You have to use an actual dedicated calculator because when exam time rolls around, that's what you have to have, right? If you forget your calculator one day, I don't care if you're doing it in class on your phone, but then when you get to the exam, you're not going to know how to do the problems because your calculator is going to look different than your phone. So make sure you do the majority with your regular calculator. So then iClicker is the other thing that you need. So if you have trouble with the textbook or you have trouble with iClicker, you need to let me know. Now, if you did the book bundle, just make sure that you know that this is a rental. You are not purchasing the book. You are only renting the book. I don't know if people explain that to y'all. Did they tell y'all that? Not really? So at the end of the semester, your subscription to the ebook goes away or your textbook you have to return. So if your book is something that you want to keep, don't do the kernel book bundle. But you know you have to opt out by August 20th, I do believe, which is the end of the week, right? So August 20th, you have to opt out if you want to opt out. All right, let's see. I want to scroll down all this stuff. Okay. I wonder if I can zoom. Aha. Okay. So what are you going to be graded on in this class? I give 4 exams. That's why the course material is broken down into 4 basic units. Now, I only keep 3 of those grades. So I drop your lowest exam score, which can be really helpful, right? But don't say, oh, I'm not going to worry about the first exam, not a big deal, right? No, no, no. You want to do really well on the first exam. So if you have trouble later in the semester, you can drop something else, okay? Then you have your homework, your mastering chemistry homework. You have 1 for every chapter that we cover. We're planning to cover 10 chapters. Then you have 2 mini homeworks. And then we have iClicker questions. Now I want you to look at the point value for iClicker questions. Point value for iClicker questions is 100 points. You have 300 points coming from regular exams. So iClicker is worth about what? Same as one exam. So there's your other basically exam score, right? So you're going to accumulate these points every time you come to class. So it is really important that you pay attention in class so you can answer questions the next day, and that you watch the videos that I assign to you, because you can have iClicker questions from the video. Okay? So you have to come to class prepared. Then we will have a comprehensive final exam. What does that mean? Comprehensive. Everything. So everything from today on is on the final exam. Okay. All right. And then I round to the nearest whole number when I calculate your letter grade. I think that's what I have it set to in Moodle. If not, I'm going to go back and fix it, but it rounds to the nearest whole number. So when you're doing this stuff, you got to remember kind of the freebies that I'm giving you. I'm dropping an exam score. In your homework, I put in a few extra questions in every single homework assignment, but I made them bonus. So you have the chance to accumulate bonus points every time you complete a homework assignment. Do them all. Do them all. You never know what you might need, because at the end of the semester, if you email me and say, Dr. B, I'm so close to a fill in the blank with whatever grade you want, can you please bump my grade up? What do you think I'm going to say? I'm going to say no, because I dropped your lowest exam score. I gave you bonus points on every single homework, right? I'm giving you these things. So take them now, because I don't want to have to reply back with that email at the end of the semester. Okay. So make the best of all the points that you can. And I round up. Okay. All right. So, oh, this is one thing I did want to say. I don't require a particular notebook or whatever it is for this class. What you do, how you do it is your business. But I highly recommend you print out your lecture slides that you watch outside of the class, so you have them while I'm on the video lecturing. I suggest you print out your in-class problems, the problems that we're going to do in class, and I'll show you where all this is on Moodle. And then I also suggest you have either loose leaf paper or a notebook that you write in, where you write down how you're doing your homework problems. Because if you send me an email and say, Dr. B, I'm trying to do number 8 on the online homework system, and I'm not getting it right, how do I help you? I don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to reply back and I'm going to say, I'm happy to help you, but you need to show me what kind of work you have to solve this problem, right? Because then I can say, oh, look, you just put that in the numerator, it should have been in the denominator, right? And then I can really easily help you. But if you work on it in a notebook, you can always go back to it, right? And it's really easy to take a picture of it and email it to me. Dr. B, this is what I've done. Where am I going wrong? You know, then I can really help you, okay? All right. Our general dates, but you got all that. Let's see, what else do I want to say? You can read all the honesty policies, all that kind of stuff. Makeup policy. I don't give makeup exams for regular exams because I'm going to drop your lowest exam score. So if you miss an exam, I just drop it. Okay. Let's see. And if you send me an email, please, please, please tell me in the subject line of the email, it's Chem 109 4T. It's a homework question. It's a whatever. So that I know which class, you know, and I'm not trying to guess which class because I teach a bunch of different classes. So I'm not trying to guess which class y'all are coming from. Okay, I think the rest of it you can read and you are good. Oh, this is all the information about the tutoring center. Great. The tutoring center is great. Please use it. Please, please, please. And then at the very end, I also have all kinds of resources. I know being a lot of y'all are first-time freshmen, but sometimes you just don't know where to go to get help. So I always try to put this at the end of all my syllabi, just so that you have some extra resources. And if you ever need anything, even if it's not a homework question, even if it's personal, you are welcome to contact me and I can help you in any way, shape, or form that I can. Okay. All right. So how do you find the stuff like chapter 1 that we're going to get started on in just a minute? You go to unit 1. We have 2 mini homeworks. Then here's chapter 1. Here are the lecture slides that I go over in the videos that are right here. And here are the in-class problems. I usually do a few in-class problems in the video, and then we do the rest kind of here in class. So if you ever want to print them out and come to class with them, you can do that. It's pretty nice. Okay, and then at the bottom are all the videos, right? And then what I want to show you is mini homework B. So I had an error on mini homework B. It's 2-parter for mini homework B. Ooh, if I could come down. Okay. The first one is to put a picture in Moodle. It's really hard for me to know who you are with all the masks, right? So it's so nice to have an actual picture of your face so that, you know, like even when the semester's over, I'll be able to recognize you in the hall. So please do put your picture on your Moodle. So I kind of have a photo roll of the class. And then after you read the syllabus, there's a course agreement form. I had to fix the form. The form was broken. So if you filled out the form, I'm sorry, please refill out the form. There are a couple of people who did it today. So I think I have like 2 or 3 responses from today, and those are fine. But if you did it over the weekend in preparation early, thank you for trying to be on top of the ball. But please go ahead and redo it, okay? And if you're ever wondering, did it go through, you can send me an email and I can check for you. Questions on that? Good? Okay. How about some chemistry? You ready to do some chemistry? Yeah? All right. Everybody needs, real quick, everybody needs a pen or a pencil, a real pen or pencil. I'm going to give you your first little thing about chemistry. Now, I'm going to pass these papers back. I'm asking you to draw something. I'm telling you, I'm not grading this. There are no points associated with this. You can't get it wrong, okay? This is just for me to learn about you. So don't look at your partner's paper. Put your arm over. Don't let the person next to you look at it, okay? So don't share your answers. It won't take long. It'll just take a minute. And just put what you know. All right. And I'll come and pass out to the back of the class in just a minute. When you're done, turn it over so that nobody's looking. You know how hard it is not to lift your fingers as a teacher? I'm not doing it. I'm trying not to gross y'all out. But as a teacher, you always, you know, like lift your finger and then count out papers. It's terrible. It's those things we used to do, right? Don't do them anymore. I pass out extra. Remember, I'm not grading, no right or wrong. Don't look at partner's paper. Flip it over when you're done. Don't look for any information other than your N number. You need to go look up your N number. Go look up your N number. You will need that on exam days. So you go look up your N number. I know you're not cheating, it's okay. I guess you poor people on Zoom, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I lost my chat. So the next thing that we're gonna start working on is this. So if you wanna pull that up, you can. All right. Raise your hand if you need some more time. Are you okay? All right, if you pass them up, and then we're gonna pass them over once the whole row gets it. So wait as a front row person. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm not actually gonna give you the answer today. Not actually gonna give you the answer today. But I promise we'll get there. No, it's not. There's no judgment. There's no right or wrong. It's okay. There's more than that. Okay, no judgment. No, absolutely not. Thank you. All right, thank y'all for playing. I appreciate it. No judgment, okay? None. All right. That's some reading material for me for later today. I love that stuff. I'm weird like that. I'm really weird like that. Y'all are gonna find that out pretty quickly. Okay, let's do this. You full screen. Okay. Whoa. We want to do this. Okay. So you should have watched what videos? 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. Okay, so we're gonna go relatively slow today, but do realize that your first exam only covers chapters what? 1 and 2. So it won't be long before we have our first exam. Do not get behind. Stay on top of all this stuff. I know it's a challenge, but do the best you can. Okay, so let me move this back up here. So many little things to have going on the screen. All right, so the first thing that we talk about in chemistry is basically how we classify stuff, right? How we classify matter. And so, right, we look at this beautiful diagram of how we classify matter. And so what I want to do before we start actually solving problems is to look at this diagram and maybe simplify it a little bit, right? Okay, so if we take matter and we say, well, matter can either be pure substances or mixtures. How can I really easily recognize what is a pure substance? When you hear pure, what do you think of? Like it's one thing, right? You haven't messed it up. You haven't added anything to it. You haven't changed it. You haven't, right? So it's really one of something. It's in its simplest form, right? So what is the most simple thing that you can think of in chemistry? Gold is a good example. Gold is an example of an element, right? We say gold, but if we were looking for gold on the periodic table, what are we actually looking for? Au, right? So gold, for example, right? Au. What is that Au? It's the chemical symbol for the element. And if I misspell something, I'm sorry. I'm a horrible speller. Horrible. Didn't get a PhD in spelling, I promise. So if I want to recognize something as a pure substance, it could be an element, right? If I can find it just on the periodic table, that's an element. So a symbol, so this is on the periodic table. right? Make yourself these notes on this kind of a diagram. When I look at something like this, I'm like, okay, wait, I have to interpret that. There's a lot of words that maybe are unfamiliar. So let me interpret it. So a pure substance could be a symbol on the periodic table. What if I said I had something like H2 or Br2? Do you find that on the periodic table? I see an H. I see a Br. What does the 2 mean? I have 2 atoms of hydrogen, or I have 2 atoms of bromine. So basically, really, if you stay on the same square, it's still an element. 2 atoms of the same element is still the same element. So H2 is an element on the periodic table. Br2 is a representation of an element that's on the periodic table. Okay, so if you're staying on one square of the periodic table, that is an element. So if we're on one square of the periodic table, okay, that's an element. Now, if we take more than one element and we put it together, what do we make? A compound. Like if I take Na and Cl, what is that? Sodium chloride or salt, right? That's a compound. I took 2 elements and I put them together. The other examples were water, table sugar, aspirin. They all have what? What are these things that they all have? They're not symbols anymore. These are called chemical formulas. Chemical formulas. So if you're going to be a pure substance, either you have a symbol on the periodic table, and that's an element, or you have a chemical formula and you're a compound. That's how to know if you're a pure substance. I feel like it's really easy to figure out comparatively if you're a pure substance or not versus a mixture or not, right? Because if you have that pure substance, the symbol's not going to change, or the formula is not going to change. But the same is not true for a mixture. So let's go over to a mixture. If we have a mixture by definition is 2 or more substances, right? If we're going to mix things together, we have to have at least A and B to mix, right? So that's a mixture, 2 or more substances. But the deal is, not only is it 2 or more substances, but it's 2 or more substances that can then be separated. That can be separated. Because if I separate H2O, then I would have hydrogen and oxygen, right? But I would actually have to break bonds. How often do we break the bonds of water? We not really, right? Not in our everyday normal stuff. But what if we had salt water? What if I took salt and added it to water? Could I separate the salt out? Sure, how? Filtering wouldn't necessarily do it if the salt had dissolved in the water. In order to separate it, then we would have to boil the water, right? And if we boiled the water, the steam or the water, it's still water, would evaporate, and what would we be left with at the bottom? Salt. What if we had sand and water? Now we could filter that, right? They're both mixtures, but we just have to use different methods to separate them. Okay, so we know a mixture is 2 or more substances that can be separated. But let's use that example of salt water and sand water. One of them is homogeneous, one of them is heterogeneous. Homogeneous meaning the same, heterogeneous meaning different, right? So if I have a homogeneous mixture, it looks the same throughout. Which one is a homogeneous mixture? Salt water or sand water? Salt water. Salt water is another example. So we'll put salt water. I can't look at a container of salt water and pick out the salt, right? Same thing with sugar water. If I add sugar to water, I can't pick out the sugar molecules. It's dissolved inside of it, right? But now what about sand water? Sand water would be heterogeneous. Sandy water. Trying to squeeze it in there, that's a 2. Okay. Can you pick out the sand? Absolutely. What happens if you have a beaker of sand water and you stir it up? What happens to the sand eventually? It's going to settle. That's what sediment is in all of our rivers and everything, right? All of that silt has settled into the bottom of the riverbed. So yes, I can separate out. I can see the layer of sand and the layer of water. So that's heterogeneous. They do all kinds of crazy things. Like vegetable soup, right? You can pick out the carrots, so you don't like the mushrooms, we'll pull out the mushrooms, right? You can pick out the different pieces of a vegetable soup. So that's what makes it heterogeneous. So whenever we look at whether something is homogeneous or heterogeneous, we want to look at its composition throughout. So a lot of times I'm going to give you this caveat. I want to ask you this. Is air homogeneous or heterogeneous? So I hear both. I hear both. All right. Let's be more specific. The air in this classroom, homogeneous or heterogeneous? Is the air right in front of my mouth the same composition as air maybe by the door? No, it's not, right? I'm exhaling carbon dioxide. So I have kind of a relatively high concentration of carbon dioxide by my mouth. And up here where we don't have very many people, right? Nobody's exhaling carbon dioxide. So you can't always necessarily see the difference in a heterogeneous mixture. I just kind of want you to keep that in mind. So in a book, you're probably going to hear air as homogeneous. If you had a tube and there was nothing going on, eventually all the molecules of nitrogen, oxygen, helium, all of that stuff would equilibrate. And yes, it would be homogeneous. But in real life situations, it's not true. So just kind of want y'all to think about that. Okay. They do that a lot on standardized tests, which I hate, is they use air as an example. It's terrible. Okay. Classify each of the following substances as a pure substance or a mixture. Well, water. What do we think? I'm not talking about water in your water bottle. I'm talking about you dig a hole in the ground and it's full of water. That's a mixture. How did you know that? There's dirt, right? There's some dirt. There's probably more dirt in the well water that's at the bottom than the well water that's at the top. Sure, absolutely. Okay, ocean water. Oh, absolutely a mixture, right? Depends on what salt concentration it is. Could be more fresh water near the mouth of where a river is dumping into the ocean, right? Depends on whether it's far out to sea. Cement. Absolutely a mixture, right? If you walk out and you walk onto the concrete, right? And you look down, you're going to see little bits of rock, right? You're going to see the glue, the binding that pulled it all together. So that's a mixture. A tropical smoothie. Oh, absolutely a mixture. I'm feeling a tropical smoothie right now, right? Maybe with some clumps of mango in there, right? Or pineapple. Yeah. Oh, like she really is crazy. Oh yeah, and I wanted to tell you on this one, I don't know why I circled C in the video, but I didn't mean to circle C. I just meant A. So go back and make that edit. Sorry about that. But the answers are right. I just put into the wrong things. Okay. A bottle of a sports drink. You having some Gatorade? What are we feeling? What? Homogeneous or heterogeneous? Homogeneous. Right? If they've produced it properly and they put the right concentration of salts and things like that inside of it, right? You ever notice on a Gatorade bottle, it's like powered with ions, and you've seen that? It's got like 4 different ions. Oh, it's lots of electrolytes. What do? They just put salt in it. They put different kinds of salt in it. That's it. That's all they did. It's not all it's cut out to be. All right. A blueberry pancake, homogeneous or heterogeneous? That is absolutely heterogeneous. Prefer chocolate chips in my pancakes, but it's okay. Blueberry would be all right. All right, gasoline. This one's kind of tricky if you have to sort of know what gasoline is. But I'm talking about the gasoline that you actually put into your car, not what they pump out of the ground. But you're at the pump, you need gas, you got some gasoline. That would be homogeneous, right? There has to be a certain amount of each of the different hydrocarbons, and sometimes there's a particular concentration of ethanol inside of them, right? But we don't want to run that through our boats, but it would be consistent. A box of Raisin Bran, heterogeneous. If you got Raisin Bran and wanted to pick out the raisins, you could do that. Now I like it with some extra raisins, but you know, the extra raisins aren't just like the regular raisins that are in there. The regular raisins have that little bit of coating of something. They're a little bit sweeter. They're a little bit better. Oh, like those. All right. So now we come to like my favorite thing, the periodic table. Beautiful, beautiful periodic table, right? So let's quick review. Let's see if we know some things about the periodic table. So why do we have these particular things on the periodic table? Where can we find basically all of these elements? Right here on Earth. Some of them were created in the lab. So the ones that have the, see the light, they don't have the black filled in, right? Those are the ones that we create in the lab, and they're very unstable and they don't last for very long, but they were here on Earth at some point, right? Okay. So what if we have a vertical column? What do we call this? We call this a group, right? We call this one a group. What if we have a horizontal row? We call this a period. So we would say that is the 4th period of the periodic table. We also call the different groups by basically their properties. So group 1A, we know, are the alkali metals. So things that are, how do I know something's a metal? Just by kind of looking at the periodic table. This one's a lot better. And you'll get this in black and white on an exam. You'll get this periodic table. They're blue. They're blue. The metals are blue. Well, what are the green? Let me ask you this. What are the yellow? Non-metals. And what are the green? Metalloids. So they're kind of like metals, they're kind of like non-metals, they're like this in between, right? They can't make up their mind. Okay, so when we're looking for a particular element, right? If I said hydrogen, what letter stands for hydrogen? H. Well, that was really easy. How about sodium? Does that make sense? Sodium, we abbreviate Na. It's kind of weird, right? Most of the symbols are based on their English names. Not all of them, right? So we already talked about gold. Gold is what? AU. Some of the letters are based on their Greek names, right? And so they're not going to look necessarily familiar to you. And so I know everybody kind of has that. I'm like, sodium, Na, where did that come from? But sodium is actually called natrium. And that's why they get the Na, right? Yeah. Things you never knew you really wanted to know, right? You really wanted to know that. Okay, so we have our alkali metals, then we have our alkaline earth metals. So they behave a little bit differently, but they're still metals. So we have these transition metals that go across the middle of the periodic table here. And what do we call these both together, the lanthanide and the actinide series? They're still transition metals because they actually came from right here in the periodic table. We call them inner transition metals because they go inside right here. Call them inner transition metals. Okay. These groups 3, now this is another thing to point out too. There are 2 different ways to name the groups, right? You can call them just by numbering them straight across. So this would be group 1, group 2, or you can have the AB numbering system. So once we get from 1 to, they're the same, 1A, 2A. When we get to the transition elements, those become Bs. So then to get to 3A, we got to jump all the way across our transition elements and pick up 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, right? So be careful if you're trying to give the group number, you know if that's A or B or the regular number. I usually give them both just so that y'all don't get confused. Okay, so groups 3A through 6A, these have particular names, but you don't have to learn them. The important ones are 7A, we call these halogens, right? And then the very last one, I call these the cool kids. They are the noble gases. And we're going to find out why they are the cool kids, right? Because they're awesome. Oh yeah, next page. Okay, so classify each of the following as an element or a compound. So Fe, this would be an element. What element is it? Iron. It's another one of those weird ones. Now, the good news is, even if that you don't know all your elements by their symbols, I posted this in Moodle. This is your exam resources. I'm going to print this out in black and white, but this is what you will get on an exam. So the first page is your periodic table. If you look in the back of the textbook, this is what you actually get, is an alphabetical list of the elements. So if you're like, oh my God, you're in the middle of an exam, I can't find iron, right? You can come here and alphabetically find iron and find out that that's Fe. Okay, you don't want to have to do that often, but if you get in a pinch, it's there for you. Okay, so just make sure that you go in and look. Y'all know where to find that on Moodle? Let me show you real quick. I think it's important to be able to find. Okay, so right here, there's chapter 1, chapter 2, resources available on exam 1. If you click that, this is what I will actually hit print on in black and white, but I'll hit print on it, and this will come along with your exam. Okay, so you know what you're getting. All right, CaCl2. Is that one square on the periodic table? No, that's calcium and chlorine. So what must that be? A compound. So sometimes it's nice to take this word and say, okay, what is this word? This is one square on the periodic table, right? What is a compound? A compound is multiple squares from the periodic table. So sometimes just writing yourself that little note, you can do that on an exam. Your exam is yours to write on, so write all over it. Okay, Si. Is it on the periodic table? Absolutely. Look in column 14, go 2 down. So it is an element. Okay. Ki. Oh, this is a little bit tricky, right? Why? It's a capital. Anytime you see 2 capitals, that should automatically tell you, whoa, I have two elements there, right? Because CA, do you notice how the first one's capital, the second one's lowercase? That's how I know that that's one element. But if I have two capitals next to each other, that is, K is what? Potassium, I is iodine. So that must be a compound, right? Okay. So now we're going to do kind of the same thing, but now we're looking for name. We're looking for the symbol, the group, the period, and whether it is a metal or a non-metal. So sodium, that weird and wacky sodium, what's its symbol? Na. What group is it in? Group is up and down. Group 1A, and I'll put in parentheses 1, right? Because there are two different ways to name it. What period? Period goes across. Period 3. Now it's easier to see on the periodic table in your book, so you're welcome to print that out and have that next to you. I actually suggest taking those exam resources, printing it, and putting it in whatever notebook you use to do homework or bring to class. That way you have it next to you. Okay. All right. So metal or a non-metal? It's on the left-hand side, so it must be a metal. Must be a metal. So if you look on the periodic table, right, Na, oh, it's on the previous page here. Na is blue, and we know all of the things that are blue are metals. Okay. All right. Next one, we're only told group and period. So group 2A, start at the top, 2A, and I'm going to go down to period 4. What do I land on? Calcium. I land on calcium. Okay, so we're going to spell it. Calcium. Is calcium a metal or a non-metal? It's a metal. It's a metal. Okay, P. What is P? Phosphorus. Right, potassium is K. It's weird. It's weird. Okay, group. So 5A would be acceptable. What else would be acceptable? 15. What period? I'm looking for period 3. Metal or a non-metal? This is a non-metal. It works really great to look at the periodic table that's given in the book or the one that I put on exam resources. Just print it out and have it with you every class. Okay, 5A and period 2, we should be a non-metal. So 5A or 15 on the one in the classroom, 15, and we're going to go down to period 2. Nitrogen. Why is it nitrogen and not phosphorus? It's the second one down. Phosphorus is the second one down. But that's in period 3. So you got to be careful with that, right? Make sure that you know which period it's actually in. So 15 in period 2 is nitrogen because there's nothing in group 15 for period 1. Okay. All right. So we said, what do we say? Nitrogen. Make sense? Okay. You always stop me. If I say something that doesn't make sense, always, always, always stop me. Okay. And the reason, y'all know the reason I'm skipping some that are done, right? Because why? We did them in the video. We did them together in the video, right? We're like, sure. All right. Most of y'all are like, of course, yes. All right. Identify and give the numbers of atoms of each element in the following compounds. How do we know the number of atoms? The what? The subscript. The subscript. Number of atoms is told by subscript, S-C-R-I-P, following the element symbol. So I'll give you a little sneak peek, right? If we said water, water's formula is H2O. So if you were to draw a water molecule, how many hydrogens would you have? Hydrogen would be 2, oxygen would be 1 atom. 2 atoms, 1 atom, right? Okay, I'm just gonna erase. But okay, so let's do some other ones. Okay. A, MgSO4. So what's our first element? Mg, which is magnesium. And how many magnesium atoms do I have? I have 1 atom. What's my next element? Sulfur. I have how many atoms? 1 atom. Next one is oxygen. I have how many oxygen atoms? Okay. Do B, NaHCO3. What's my first element? Sodium. And how many atoms? Okay, what's next? Hydrogen. How many? Oh, awesome. What's next? Carbon. How many? What's next? How many? Okay, last one to get creative here. Okay, C. C14, H18, N2O5. What do I have? Carbon. Oh, I didn't put my C. How many? 14 atoms. What's next? How many? Okay, what about nitrogen? We'll just put a 2. Last one. How many atoms? 5. Okay, not too bad, right? With no parentheses yet. The parentheses are going to make it a little more complicated, but we'll talk about that in a bit. All right. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't want to just walk out, but I already registered the wrong class.
Oh,
I was
no.
supposed to be in organic chemistry.
You can absolutely.
So I didn't want to just walk out without.
No, you're absolutely, it's cool. You're good. Okay, so the next part is to determine whether we have a physical change or a chemical change. When we think about a chemical change, how do we know a chemical change has occurred? Wait, say it again. Yeah, so your chemical composition of your substance has to change, right? So that chemical formula is no longer going to be the same. If I have salt water, right, and I boil away the water, what am I left with? Salt and water. Did a chemical change happen? No, right? So you have to think about what's happening to the substances that you're manipulating. So in the first one, we have cream, sugar, and flavorings are mixed together and frozen to make ice cream. I just mixed some stuff together and I made them cold. Did I change the chemical composition of anything? No. So what is this, physical or chemical? This is physical. So I'm just going to put a P next to A. Global issue for this, what? Okay, that's weird. Milk spoils and becomes sour. Oh. It changes the composition. You're actually changing the composition. When milk sours, you actually have a chemical change that's occurring inside of the milk. And so now you are forming a new product. So a lot of times, the way that we recognize a chemical reaction has happened, right? You can't look at a substance and say, did the chemical formula of this substance change? I'm going to stare at it. Is that going to work? No, it's not. So a lot of times we look for key things that happen to indicate it's a chemical change. So one of them is the smell and odor. What happens when milk becomes sour? Oh, you sniff it, right? And you're like, oh no, that's bad, right? So odor is one of them. Taste is one of them, but you really shouldn't taste chemistry, right? Don't taste. What else? Change. Sometimes they change in the. Sometimes a change in the physical properties of the substance, right? So sometimes it's color. The color can change. Sometimes it emits a gas, right? Those are all indications that a chemical change has occurred. All right, so what do we say? Milk becomes spoiled and becomes sour. That one was chemical. And then a puddle of spilled nail polish remover disappears. What happened? It evaporated. You just told me that evaporating water is what kind of a change? Evaporating water is what kind of a change? If I go from liquid water to gaseous water, did a chemical change occur or a physical? Physical. So if I take nail polish remover and I go from a liquid form to a gaseous form, because I can smell it, right? Physical or chemical? Physical. Physical. All right. And we will pick up there next time. We didn't get quite as far, but we did pretty good. We did pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. I hope y'all had a great first day. A second first day, right? Make sure you get your textbook figured out and your iClicker. If you want to see if iClicker works for you, you're welcome to come up and I'll check. Y'all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to end the Zoom.
Is there courses already on there? Because mine popped up, there's no courses at all.
Oh yeah, there are courses.